Up next, Authentically Detroit welcomes Hitha Healing House founder and executive director Kayana Sessoms, and executive director of Brilliant Detroit, Tarsha Gale, to discuss how their partnership is helping Detroit moms and their families. But first, our segment with Alex B. Hill of Detroitography, Detroit by the Numbers. Keep it locked. Authentically Detroit starts after these messages.
Eastside Community Network is proud to support Rise Higher Detroit, a transition guided by community, built on collaboration. Mayor Sheffield wants to hear from Detroiters, and your input in this citywide survey will help shape what comes next. Stop by ECN and ask for Juanita to complete the survey in person, or take the survey today by visiting our website at ecn-detroit.org.
What's up, Detroit? Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from Detroit's east side of the Stoudemire, inside of the Eastside Community Network. I'm Sam Robinson.
And I'm Donna Givens-Davidson.
Thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people in the city of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. First of all, happy Women's History Month, everyone. Today, we're joined by two women, Tarsha Gale and Kayana Sessoms, whose partnership is allowing maternal wellness programming to continue for Detroit moms and their families. We also have Alex Hill of Detroitography on the line for our monthly segment, Detroit by the Numbers. Tarsha and Kayana, welcome to Authentically Detroit. Thank you guys for joining us. How are you?
Good.
Glad to be here.
Awesome.
Some familiar faces, I guess.
Yes.
So the way to kick off Women's History Month, talking to women who are all about helping mothers and families led by women for the most part. I really appreciate your presence.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, it's time for Detroit by the Numbers, highlighting significant data and numbers from the past month for Detroiters. Here with Alex B. Hill of Detroitography and the chairperson of the City of Detroit's Go Data Commission. The Go Data Commissioners are a diverse group of stakeholders, including data experts, community leaders, and representatives from various sectors. The commission is dedicated to ensuring that the city's open data initiatives serve the needs of all residents and promote informed decision-making. Sometimes there are numbers and data points in the news, but it's hard to know the context behind them. Let's talk about them and dig in. What numbers do you have for us this month, Alex?
Hey, yeah, so the first number I've got for this past month is 500 million. And that was the new property assessment valuation that the Sheffield administration announced from the, they go through a long process of looking at home sales across the city. The thing I'll call out, though, that some colleagues from a group called Gratiot Labs noticed was that the crypto real estate company, Real Token, a lot of the home sales that went into that valuation were that company just selling properties back to itself. So in the neighborhood of Jefferson Chalmers in particular, it was something like 70% of those home sales used in the valuation were just Real Token selling the properties back to itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I question those valuation numbers. I have when they were announced by the former mayor, and I imagine that these numbers that were announced by Mayor Mary Sheffield, are based on the previous work. But there has been this suggestion that Black homeowners have really been gaining housing wealth as a result of a lot of the interventions. And it's happening in some key areas, but there's a whole lot of areas where the housing values are pretty flat. And if they're flat, that means they're declining in value. I'm interested, though, in how somebody would benefit from selling a house to himself or herself. Like, what does that look like, and how does that benefit someone?
Yeah, you can read more about that from Aaron Mondry of Outlier. I know he has
Right.
done a ton of reporting on the topic. When I'm on the parcel viewer looking at my new house, I see that a number of properties in the block are Real Token properties.
Yeah, but can you explain how the property values, you buy it and you sell it to yourself. What can you briefly explain that? I want to read it, but I want our listeners to kind of understand how that happens.
Yeah, in this case in particular, it's it seems to be just that Real Token has set up just separate entities. And so, they're looking to increase the value of the properties that they're holding on to. And in this case, it's pretty much every single one of these sales is for $54,000. Every single one, which also, makes it easy to note in the data. But a lot of the work I've done previously on land speculation, when a corporate entity sells a property to another corporate entity that it controls, it's very often trying to drop the tax debt. And so in this case, it's a bit odd. I don't know exactly why the crypto real estate groups are shuffling properties around.
Right. We'll have to get Aaron on the show and have Aaron sort of break it down for us, because there is a reason why people do that. They benefit. And I'm really interested in whether or not those increased valuations that are caused by this end up having any kind of impact on adjacent properties, whether or not these properties are serving as comparable sales. And the other question I have is around property taxes and how that kind of action impacts valuations or assessed valuations of other property nearby, because if these are not real increases in value, but they are, constructed increases in value, then you could end up having a negative impact without meaning it. Or maybe you're having a positive impact because now my home is worth more and I can sell it for more. I'm really interested in learning more about that. What's your next number?
Right. Yeah. And sorry, in this instance, it's all the whole neighborhood of Jefferson Chalmers gets impacted by those 70% of the home sales that are from that crypto company. Right. The next number I've got is also property related. It's 122,000. And that's, I think it was a Crane's headline looking at the number of vacant lots in Detroit. 48% of those are held by the Detroit Land Bank. So that's, about 60,000. And within that 60,000, the land bank has about 20,000 that are available in their side lot or neighborhood lot programs.
Okay. Wow. So, is that number decreasing or increasing, or is it about the same? Do you have any sense of how that number is changing?
Yeah, I think the big change here, the inventory. I don't like that word, but the inventory of property is still relatively the same. It's just in this case now the land bank has maybe 3,000 properties that have a structure on them, and then the vast majority of the properties that they're holding on to are just empty lots. Yeah. So some people say, we've got an empty lot now. There's a lot more possibility. And there's been some talk about creating a land conservancy to hold those properties. And I think it's the Detroit Future City that's looking at what could be done with all those vacant properties.
And of course, a lot of residents want to know how they can access some of these properties for their own visions. Yeah. We're going to be talking to two young women now who are actually, I believe, working in properties that got rescued and repurposed for the community. And that's something that ECN and other organizations are doing. So I think, the more that we can also allow for community members to come up with solutions, the more just our city becomes. So let's go through your other numbers. Yeah. You have a couple more?
Yeah, so next one I've got 23%, and that's related to jobs in the city. So jobs in the city of Detroit pay 23% more than the state average. And this number comes from the University of Michigan Research Seminar in Quantitative Economics. They put out a quarterly economic forecast that the city uses. I think they put it out for the whole state as well. And I think, that really speaks to the economic engine that Detroit serves for our region. But then there's always the question of, well, who's holding those jobs? And we know it's about 70% of jobs that are held by commuters in our region.
Yeah, I was going to say that we have to be honest that Detroit residents do not earn 23% more than the state average. So this speaks to the fact that other people are getting these jobs. And it's very unfortunate to see that kind of improvement while the median income is relatively static. And so, 70% of those jobs are held by commuters, but I wonder what percentage of those 27% of Detroit jobs are actually at this 23% higher, and what percent of the Detroit jobs are really at a median that is closer to the area median income, or the Detroit median income, not that in the area itself.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then your final, or do you have...
Yeah, final number. I've got 6,500. And at the end of February, that was the number of Detroit residents who had responded to the Detroit Rise Higher community survey. I know the Sheffield administration and transition committees, the goal is to reach 10,000 responses on that survey. So I'd love to encourage folks to check that out and to submit. They can go to DetroitRiseHigher.com/survey and let the new administration know what their priorities are and what they'd like to see happening in the city.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Also, you can go to ecn-detroit.org because we are helping to gather signatures. And so if you go to ecn-detroit.org, you can learn more about our programs and also access the survey there. There will be a community meeting here on Thursday that the city is hosting, where the city is going to talk about community and neighborhood well-being. And so please join us if you're listening on Thursday. I believe that we have about space for about 200 people to show up and actually talk to folks. As you probably know, I'm the co-chair of the Housing Development and Planning Committee for the transition team. And so I will be there at one of the tables having conversations, as well as many other people who co-chair other committees. And you can fill out a survey then if you haven't done so before then.
Alex, thank you so much.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Before we get into our interview with Tarsha and Kayana, I wanted to mention just today, we are recording this on Monday, March 2nd. We have news that State Representative Karen Whitsett will not be seeking re-election. Now, she, of course, lost her city council race to District 7 Councilmember Denzel McCampbell, whose campaign was powered by volunteers, door knockers with Democratic Socialists of America, as well as the Working Families Party. Karen's campaign was powered by 3 donations from PACs. She received no individual donations in her campaign for city council. She told me that she had prayed the night before the election that she would lose.
Yeah, so did I.
So when you see Democrats celebrating today, including the chair of the Democratic Party, Curtis Hertel, is saying good riddance on his Twitter account, and response from a number of lawmakers. I saw Dana Polhanke chimed in as well. You see a number of Detroit advocates, activists, and spectators under the replies of my tweet saying, this is worth celebrating. I still haven't talked to Karen on the phone. I plan to do that, but she has been texting me today and throughout the last several months. I've been interested. Karen, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? We finally heard today. It was 2 days after Rosalind Ogburn. She is a Rashida Tlaib-backed candidate who wants to represent that same 4th State House district that Karen currently represents. We heard from her at her launch on Grand River at a community center. She feels that she is going to have the community support. She feels that she is going to be the candidate who is going to make it through that primary. Now we have several months before that August primary to decide who is the candidate that's going to face the Republican candidate. Of course, Detroit's 4th House District is a Democratic majority district, and so whoever comes out of that primary will most likely be the state rep. And now we know that it will not be Karen Whitsett. She has told me that she will never run for political office again. She's citing her commitment to Jesus Christ. Karen has become a Republican over the last several years and months and weeks, and it's sort of culminating on her Facebook page. If you go look at it, it's full of, conservative memes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem. Well, I do have a problem with her political points of view, but I think when you're representing a district, you have to represent the needs of that district and not represent your personal beliefs. And, you're talking about one of the poorest districts in the state, with a concentration of Black women and men and children who need things. And it's your job when you're elected to represent them at the state level to do your best. And that sometimes means just showing up and voting. Sometimes that means listening to them and making sure that whatever it is you're recommending is aligned with their needs. And if it's not aligned, explain it. But what I saw was a lot of dishonesty. I saw a lot of going behind people's backs and getting into kinds of conversations that didn't make any sense, and then using your position as for attack lines. So be a Republican, be whoever you are. I don't have the right to tell people what to be, but I do think it makes sense for representatives of any community to represent the needs of the people of the community. And I can honestly say that's not what I saw.
Yeah, Curtis Hertel told me today that the party had already taken away her access to Democratic voter data, contact info, and other campaign tools. I mean, she was not just actively working with Republican Speaker Matt Hall, but she was, joining in on fundraisers and working with him, not on policy, but on political activity.
And she did that her first term as well. I also want to acknowledge that there's a correlation between some of the things that she says and some of the things that we're hearing from at least one of the gubernatorial candidates for governor. I mean, obviously gubernatorial candidates for governor, one of the candidates for governor. And
which has been one of her key allies.
Which has been one of her key allies. And I think, you have to own your friends.
We're talking about Mike Duggan.
Mike Duggan and Karen Whitsett have been aligned in many ways. And I think both of them are people who have lost faith and respect for or willingness to work with the Democratic Party in the state of Michigan. And it's not just tactical. I think there are some philosophical differences between where they stand and where the party stands. And I am by no means a Democrat apologist, but I think that the alternative to that is something that you have to really look at. I know people who are independent who stand for things like economic justice and environmental justice and racial justice. And I know there are people who are independent who don't necessarily agree with MAGA, but otherwise would be Republican. And I think that sometimes that's what we're seeing. And I think with her, she's very comfortable with MAGA, but also with other candidates, they're not. Figure out who the bedfellows are, and then you have to ask yourself, do I want that bedfellow representing me at the state level, whoever they are? This is a really important time in our history. I'm on the advisory committee for the Poverty Task Force for the state of Michigan. And we had a meeting on Friday. And when I tell you that people who are working at the state level who are dealing with poverty issues on the state level are demoralized, are scared about what they're seeing happening and feel powerless to help people who they need to help because that's their job. So it gets real personal to me. And I want it to be personal, again, to elected officials. I want them to care enough that they're going to fight for people in ways that people want to be fought for. Not like, I'm going to fight for you to find Jesus because I've decided that that's your problem. But I'm going to fight for you to eat because you're hungry. I'm going to fight for you to have housing because you are, and if you believe in Jesus, you might even think that's what Jesus wants. But that's a whole nother conversation. I'm saying that your private, religious beliefs should not steer you away from the professed needs of the people that you serve. And so hats off to Denzel McCampbell for winning District 7 in City Council. I think he is a person who has demonstrated through his words, deeds, and, his support for other people where he stands. And I look forward to continuing to observe him. And, hats off to you, Sam, because you do get the news first. And
yeah, I mean, it only came because, I lend an ear to Karen, and I think a lot of the times when reporters are interacting with Detroit lawmakers, especially Black women, honestly, they don't know how to even start. because they're from Okemos or West Michigan
There's
or
many
Traverse
there's many
City or
black women
Midland.
who don't know how to talk to her either. So
Yeah,
I just want to give you your props because you do have that ability to maintain relationships in place, and that's important for a reporter. So I'm not saying that tongue in cheek. I'm saying that really seriously. That's how we know things. And you have been as you pointed out before we started, a Karen whisperer. And
Witset whisperer.
I'm sorry.
Is what they call me. I don't know if I put that on myself,
Okay,
but I've been called that.
Well, you are, because we've had many conversations on this show where we've had debates, and you have been willing to at least, approach giving her side of the story under my relentless attack. So thank you.
We got to see the humanity in everyone. And I think there are obviously two sides, or even more than that, of one story. But of course, the story that folks will remember of Karen is that, when it came down to the final days of the Democratic-controlled legislature, she joined Republicans and protested the Joe Tate's decision not to put the paid sick leave bills up for a vote. She joined Matt Hall and Republicans in doing that, and Democrats were unable to have a quorum to pass bills that had already previously been passed by the state Senate. Water affordability was probably the biggest Detroit affecting piece of legislation that folks here and advocates here had really worked hard on, trying to cap people's water bills, something that they had campaigned for in 2022 when Democrats took control of the legislature. Not to mention, she went to the White House to champion hydroxychloroquine with Trump. She went to the White House with Biden at one point, but she did tell me that she enjoyed meeting President Trump more than she did meeting President Biden. However, good luck to Representative Witset in her future endeavors. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk to Tarsha and Kayana about what it is they're doing with the Hitha Healing House in brilliant Detroit.
Interested in renting space for corporate events, meetings, conferences, social events, or resource fairs? The Stoudemire Wellness Hub and Match Detroit Small Business Hub are available for rental by members, residents, businesses, and organizations. We offer rentals for activities such as corporate events, social events, meetings, conferences, art classes, fitness classes, and more. To learn more about our rentals and reserve space, visit ecn-detroit.org/space rental.
Welcome back, everyone. In February, Brilliant Detroit unveiled a new partnership with Hitha Healing House that will allow the nonprofit to continue its programming, including its signature maternal wellness program, Nurturing Roots, via Brilliant Detroit's central hub following a December fire that rendered Hitha Healing House's programming space unusable. Hitha Healing House was recently displaced after the fire affected the location where its community wellness programs were held. The Hitha Healing House provides holistic maternal wellness services grounded in cultural healing traditions and trauma-informed care. Through the partnership, Hitha Healing House's Nurturing Roots program will offer mothers up to 10 wellness sessions following birth, including nutrition counseling, massage therapy, lactation support, chiropractic care, and emotional wellness services at Brilliant Detroit. The collaboration reflects a relationship that has been years in the making. Hitha Healing House founder and executive director Kayana Sessoms first connected with Brilliant Detroit more than a decade ago while serving as program director at Osborne Neighborhood Alliance, where she participated in community engagement efforts supporting the development of Brilliant Detroit's neighborhood hub work. She later supported engagement and outreach at Brilliant Detroit hubs through contract work that shared history and trust and collaboration that made it possible for the organization to move quickly to ensure families could continue receiving services after the fire. Talk to me, guys, about that fire. I mean, what was it like the night of? And just, I can imagine that was a...
And before you do that, can I just welcome Tarsha?
Yeah.
We're partners with Brilliant Detroit, and it's my first time meeting you.
Yes.
It's very exciting to have you in that role. I just met with Cindy just about a month ago, and she's really excited about you, and this is evidence of something really good happening.
Mm-hmm. Nice to meet you, too.
Yes.
So glad to be here.
Yes. So anyway, the fire.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's go back in time to 2025. December 11th. My team and I were sitting with our children, as we often do, planning for a very important meeting with a funder the following week. And we were just really in such a beautiful space to feel and project what the future of the year was going to look like and how we were going to get all of the funds to do all the work that we're envisioning. And we would have never fathomed or imagined the phone call that I would have received hours later that would change the trajectory of how we activate the space. And so left out about 11 o'clock. We were having murals painted on the door entryway, and some work was being done inside. So as we left, the paint was drying, and I get a phone call the following morning by my neighbor, and he just stated, "The house is on fire. The house is on fire." And, at 5 o'clock in the morning, it takes a second to register when something so traumatic is being shared. And I was like, wait, what? And so I'm thinking about what he's saying, and I'm thinking about my son and how he's asleep and how I need to kind of manage to process, to get things moving. And I was like, okay. So I remember hanging the phone up and just taking a moment to just process, because I don't like to act out of just panic, because it doesn't help anyone. And so I had to get my son dressed and explain to him we need to go check on something at the house. And we drove over. About 5:30 we arrived. And from a distance, you could just see the flames. And if you've ever witnessed a fire, you see all of the sirens and the colors and everything. And it was just really bright. And I just remember taking some deep breaths and not knowing how to feel in my body, but knowing that it was going to be okay.
Can you talk about the house before the fire?
Yeah.
I've heard of Hitha House, but I've never been there. What was it like? Can you put the microphone just a little closer?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. So the house was intentionally created for exactly what its name is. Hitha means all things good in Sanskrit. And healing is very universal. We all know what healing stands for. It means transformation to something in our bodies or minds that is of a positive form. And house was the dwelling. So all things good to healing within the body, mind, spirit, and soul for every person that walked through that space, including the handyman. So if you ever had the opportunity to walk through the front door, you felt something different. You just noticed something was different. And that was a continued, I wouldn't say compliment, but observation of every person that would walk in. They felt different. They felt something, and they felt safe. And so the space was intentionally created during COVID in 2020. I started this project. I purchased a house from the land bank in 2019 at the end of the year. And initially I wanted to create a house for my dad. He was in a senior home, and my grandma had created a house for her parents, built a house for her parents, and I had always wanted to walk down those steps. And so I showed my dad the house, and he was like, okay, you're crazy. This is insane. And started to work a little bit on it in 2020, and then COVID hit. And little did I know my dad was going to be about one of the first rounds of going into the hospital of those that didn't know what was going on, and he didn't make it out. And so my dad transitioned on Earth Day, and that changed the trajectory of my life in many ways, and how intentional it was to create this space. Not only for other people's healing, but as well for my own. And so this space became my journal. It became my ultimate life puzzle, and creating something that can really provide a safe place for all.
You talk about it as it's not a home, but a sanctuary, you told Bryce Huffman.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Talk about how that, came from house for your dad to what it was.
Yeah. So during 2020, as you all can recall, we couldn't really move around as much as we were used to. For me, when I would need my own personal healing or I would need a reset, I would jump to the ocean. I would jump to somewhere where I knew I could get revived and come back and serve the community in whatever way, shape, or form I needed to show up. And that was not happening at that time. And it put me in a reflection of how many other people don't have a space to recharge, rejuvenate, to feel seen, heard, and healed. And so that's kind of when the direction of this sanctuary space, community convening of wellness really became vision.
So Hitha was formed right around the time that the Stoudemire Wellness Hub was created as a wellness hub. You didn't purchase a home for that purpose, but then you saw the opportunity to use it for that purpose.
Absolutely.
All right. And so that's kind of in keeping. I'm going to bring you in, Tarsha, because the Brilliant Detroit has been around certainly longer than that. But what is the purpose of Brilliant Detroit, and how does that connect to Hitha Healing?
Yeah, as I listen to Kayana, similar, but for families. So if we think about families having a safe space and children and parents being able to come together in a safe space right in their neighborhoods, that's the purpose of Brilliant Detroit. So I born and raised in Detroit and have spent my life working with families in Detroit, and specifically before I joined Brilliant, working with families that were in crisis, families that were being separated by a system that wasn't designed to keep them together. And so just knowing that families have a space and community where they can come together and love on their children and meet other parents who they can share a meal with, they can share a class with to learn how to better support their children's literacy and growth and development. It's very similar. So when you walk into a Brilliant house, you see community, you see families together. It's not this structured programming type of place. It is a home. It looks like a home. It feels like a home. It smells like a home. There are people gathering as they would in a home together. And that really aligns with Hitha as well, being a space for safety and belonging and healing for families.
Okay. So you experienced a fire. You had the big loss. Then what?
I had that big meeting the following week. So then we had to keep pushing forward and preparing because as we're a new organization, one meeting can make or break the organization. And so with a fire that was so tragic, not preparing properly for this meeting would just be detrimental to the trajectory of our programming, Lifeline, and everything. And I was not going to sacrifice that in the midst of the tragedy. So we pushed through and we had that Zoom meeting instead because we were supposed to meet at the house. And then following that meeting, our team was really able to breathe because we were laser focused in making sure everything was aligned to meet the presentation in which was set before us. But following that, things became really real. In relationship to, okay, this happened, and we have to process and we have to troubleshoot what and how we're going to keep moving. And Brilliant being such a great partner for so many years. I believe so many people were reaching out at that time and offering space up. But it felt most aligned to reach out to Brilliant to have that conversation and further explore opportunity there.
Now, is that space that they're providing, or is it a partnership?
It's both.
Okay.
It's both. It's a partnership and relationship to opening our arms to the families in which they serve and they are currently engaged with. but also they have gifted us in being able to utilize their space and carve out a special space within their central hub that we can call our own.
Okay. All right. And the central hub is located in
803 Hazelwood
Yep.
and Piety Hill.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I was thinking, so Piety Hill, so in Lisa Johannan in that area
Yep.
where Central Detroit Christian is located.
Yeah, not far from at all.
All right. Wonderful.
I'm interested in what the flagship program, Nurturing Roots, what does that look like? I mean, describe for folks what that work is. I understand it's holistic services. What is that to somebody that isn't familiar already?
Nurturing Roots was born out of making sure moms have access to the most quality care prior to birth, but especially in postpartum. And it's really about shifting the narrative in relationship to what postpartum experiences are for mothers, families. And so in Nurturing Roots, we have been honored to work hand in hand with families in creating wellness plans. We like to lean into what's called intergenerational wellness. We're at this pivotal point in a mother's life, birthing a child, bringing in a new vessel into their household. They have opportunity to rebuild what we call their wellness trajectory of what they want their family to really lean into. How do they want to shift maybe what has been passed down to them and not pass on to their children through adopting better nutrition practices or, dealing with some of those generational pieces that we've heard of so many times in relationship to trauma. So we offer counseling, we offer classes and workshops, we offer hand-on support when it comes to some of those really tough conversations that people may be experiencing during postpartum. But most importantly, we also offer body work, which is something that if you look around the world when it comes to postpartum care, body work is essential in recovery for moms to be able to fall back into their bodies in the proper way. And that's something that we're uplifting and making sure that every mom has access to.
Oh,
Amazing.
what kind of outcomes are you seeing?
Oh, God. Well, we are seeing dynamic outcomes. And I'll first start. One of my favorite ones that I love to uplift is moms, when they come through our program, I have 6 moms that have already completed doula certification programs. They find passion within this process of hands-on approach, support within the motherhood community. So they're finding their life work. I love that when my moms that we work with are, and I can't take compliments, but I'm a vessel, but just being able to say, we've provided them an opportunity to see what their passions are. That is what we're doing here, is really laying out a platform for them to find a new career that they are excelling in. I've got one mom that's going to be going into midwifery that had no idea that this was going to be the trajectory of where she wanted to pivot. But by seeing how we work together, seeing the power in support, because that's what this is really about. At such a sensitive time, it's leading young moms, moms of all ages, because I'm whatever, and so into a work that's vital, especially for Black women.
Yeah, super important. When you look at the alienation and isolation so many women face right now, dealing with systems that aren't, judgmental, inaccessible, and not necessarily helpful, don't always listen to them, to create a community of expertise and shared expertise. It kind of puts me in mind of that village that we were stolen from, our ancestors, and that the shared knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
That people had, and this idea that, wellness is not healthcare. That wellness is this comprehensive thing. It's a way of being in this world. And when we're not well, we have to look at more than medicine. So I love that approach, and I think more holistic interventions are needed, especially for mothers, especially in a world where young Black mothers are just not seen as having value. I have 3 grandchildren now. So I've been through 3 hospital experiences, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, the birthing process is a beautiful thing, and it's a really, really, really scary thing, right? Especially now that you have all this knowledge about maternal, from a mother's standpoint, grandmother's standpoint. It's like, wait a minute, is my baby okay? Every time the monitor goes off, how are you helping families really cope with that hospital experience, or are they giving birth in hospitals?
A little bit of both. So currently we have 13 moms that are new to the program that are all pregnant. So they are going to be going through that hospital experience. I have one that is seeking to do a home birth, so we'll see. But we connect and work very closely with doulas. Motor City Doula Association, we partner with them and pair them with a doula that they can work with throughout their prenatal phase and learn and understand what that hospital space is going to be like and help them navigate through that, right? I think the biggest piece is we just don't know. We just don't know. And you can't know how to prepare for something unless you're told and properly able to pack your first aid kit, right, on how to respond or what this means. And so that's why doulas are essential in a process of preparing mothers and fathers and families for those navigating hospital medical spaces. And I would say that for anyone, just having an advocate when it comes to the medical space is imperative nowadays, really helping you understand the language, helping you understand the process, and understanding that there's no dumb question.
Yeah. And then after the child is born, that's another period where the doulas really play a significant role, right?
Absolutely. 4th trimester is what we call it.
Mm-hmm. And that's a period where you're dealing with postpartum emotions and all of the things that come in postpartum. What are you seeing there?
So I'm trying to recall, last year we had 94% of our participants were navigating through our program with really high outcomes and not having any symptoms of postpartum. And that's because they were working with our nutritionists, they were working with our counselors, and they were they were engaging with community. And like you said, it takes a village when it comes to these things. That's one of the prescriptions I say when it comes to anything that we're really going through in life. Depression, when it comes to all of these heavy things, we need people to wrap up their arms around us, to be seen, heard.
It's not a weakness.
Yeah,
it's not a failure of the
exactly.
individual. It is how humans are constructed to be there for each other, right? And we live in a society that's so individualistic that we think that I should be able to exist without other people, when that's just not how we are made. And so I love the fact that you're bringing that in. I have some questions about nutrition, because grandmother, once again, right? I forget what happened when my youngest will be 31 in June, so it's been a minute. But when my daughter went to, see an OBGYN, they gave her things she should not eat. And there's a long list of things that if you look on it and you look at the food you can get from WIC, it's like there's a whole lot of things that WIC is providing to women who are expecting that they should not eat. How do you develop your nutrition list, and how do you educate mothers about that so they can understand how to nutritionally support their children during?
So I can speak. I'm not a certified nutrition. We have a certified nutrition that works individually with our moms. And case-to-case basis, depending on what they're experiencing, that we really lean into. A lot of our moms are breastfeeding. And so we want to focus in on what are the foods or things that they need to lean into versus stay away, or what to stay away from in relationship to what can kind of close your milk supply. But when it comes to how she plans with moms, she really does look at budget and what they can work within, because as we know, grocery prices are very high, and we really need to consider what's accessible, what's realistic to creating a healthy, nutritious plan for anyone. And she's very, very, very good at making sure that her recommendations match the lifestyle and the support that the family needs to meet their goals.
Tarsha, there's overlap in between the work that Brilliant Detroit and Hitha Healing House is providing. I want to key in on you for a second. You joined, you became the executive director of Brilliant Detroit last May. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Correct.
because the founder became the national director. Mm-hmm. What is that like, a local organization going national?
It's a process, and it is an exciting time for an organization that was born here in Detroit, and being able to successfully scale and take our model to other cities is exciting. But there is also a period of transition and making sure that we are keeping resources here in the city of Detroit for our families here, which is why we brought on myself, the executive director, specifically for Detroit, to focus on our families and the needs that are here, while we are also creating this model that can go across the country and serve communities that truly, like we were just talking about, need to be connected.
Yeah, one of the things that one of your chairs people said, Michael Tyson, that the organization seeks to reject the status quo or business as usual in our neighborhoods, right? I guess what is that business as usual when it comes to cities servicing kids and youth development in neighborhoods?
Yeah, the quickest way to answer that would be systems. That is the motto of business as usual. Kids go to school, they get what they need from school. Kids learn how to read at school. Kids go to the doctor and get the medical treatment and nutrition information that they need, like we were just talking about, from a list that's provided, from our systems that are in place. So what we do at Brilliant is we bring that back down to community and listen to the community, and we bring that into the connection that we know is needed for families and that generational knowledge that's passed down, and what it looks like to raise a family that is in love with literacy, and giving them the resources and the things that they need to have books with people that look like them, to have tutors that look like them and that tutor them throughout the whole school year, and not a stranger coming in and working with them.
Sure.
So they're excited to see their tutors. They're excited to do the work. And then those families support each other as well. So that is another piece to it. And it's right within their community and in their neighborhood within walking distance. So they don't have to drive to this side of town to get this, and then drive to that side of town to get that, and then hopefully get home in time to prepare dinner. And then, all the other things that they have to do as a family, it's right there within walking distance with relationship to their community.
Now, how many homes do you have so far?
We currently have 18 homes that are open across the city.
Which is amazing. It's such an exciting model, right? One of the things that happened with the Chandler Park House, which is directly across the street from an elementary school, is we started seeing other development take place adjacent to that house. Have you seen sort of this impact that you've had on the neighborhood itself?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good observation, because our model is designed so that we are joining with the community, and we are bringing resources to a community that already has individuals and people that are doing the work in the community. So we see community gardens that develop as a result of people coming together and sharing their interests and their ideas. We see, like, we have pocket parks next to a lot of our hubs. So we see families coming together and then deciding to, go to the movies together, or to paint a mural together, to do a lot of things within their community. It makes the community more vibrant. It makes neighbors become friends. And then those ideas just grow from there.
Yeah. So, Kayana, you were really integrally involved in helping to organize the people and get them engaged. Can you talk about that process a little bit, how you got people involved in the first place?
Yes. Well, it started...
You have such a beautiful, soft-spoken voice.
Okay. Sorry. So it really started by word of mouth and my story. and just wanting to provide access to moms in that first year. And that first application or intake, we received 25 families or moms. And we had an amazing year. And so it was by word of mouth referral. And, when you're doing something as a pilot program at first, you're just figuring it out as you move along. And then the word kept growing, and more people were wanting to get involved. More moms were wanting to get placed on the waiting list.
Yes.
And so far, we have touched over, in our Nurturing Roots program, 48 families.
Wow.
And we've held 2 motherhood conferences where we have touched over 200 families, and just providing information, education, and resources to. So
That's amazing.
Thank you.
And the waiting list is the proof of concept, right? It's people come, and you've obviously tapped into a need. But even before then, when Brilliant Detroit was just getting started, and you had to get people to come together, because I know something about the process because we helped support that process here with the Chandler Park House, but it was a really involved process that really spoke to tapping into existing leaders, tapping into existing resources, pulling them together, and then giving them some power over the whole planning process. Can you talk about that also?
Yes, of course. So at that time, you're referring to Osborne, when we were opening up that hub, and really leaning into the community leaders there. And we go back to just simple conversation, really being able to have listening sessions in relationship to the concept. What do you guys think about this? Do you see the need? What would this look like? Asking those questions, but really leaving them open-ended so that we could hear from the community in which we are looking to serve. And I think Brilliant's model is really built on having intentional dialogue with those that live in the communities in which they're serving, and helping them draw and color in the lines of what these spaces look like. And literally, we colored in lines. We created murals over in Osborne together. Yeah. So that's kind of how the process has happened, and I've seen happen across the city.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take our final break. After we come back, we are going to go through some shout-outs. We're going to highlight people that matter to us, and we're going to hear more from Kayana and from Tarsha. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Winter classes have started at the Stoudemire Wellness Hub. From chair yoga and strength-based fitness to nutrition, cooking, and wellness-focused classes, there's something for every person and every starting point. At the Stoudemire, our hope is to offer movement, nourishment, and community to support you throughout the cold season. Learn more at ecn-detroit.org/classes, or give us a call at 313-571-2800.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here with Tarsha Gale and Kayana Sessoms of Brilliant Detroit and the Hitha Healing House. We want to take this time to do our weekly shout-outs. Donna, I know you are going to have a shout-out to give. Who would you like to dedicate this week to?
A couple people. First of all, Stacy Clayton at Wayne State. She is the person who oversees regional government relations or something like that. I don't know. I have to remember job titles. But she is a force in the community who has helped to bring persons like myself together to give advice to the community so that I'm part of a presidential group that gives advice to the president of Wayne State. There is a new president of Wayne State, and she made sure that we had input into that process. But she also brought me in contact with an author named Anna Malika Tubbs of the book The Three Mothers, where she's talking about the mothers of James Baldwin, Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X, and really speaking to the impact those mothers have on the scholarship and the leadership of the men they raised. And a lot of history is in there. If you think you know anything about those mothers, you don't. Because she had to go and piece together research. She went to Louise Little's birthplace on the island of Grenada and had to reconstruct records that did not exist. James Baldwin's mother, she had to document her educational journey. And of course, the joy of speaking to, oh my goodness, I'm going to not think of her name, Alberta King and her family legacy. It was just beautiful. She's a young, brilliant author. And I had the opportunity to interview her in front of an audience at Wayne State as part of a Courageous Voices series last Thursday. And so shout out to Anna, shout out to Stacy, and to everybody who made that possible.
I want to give a shout out to a special person. Her name is Kim Robinson Arnett. She's a hospice nurse in Midland. She services Midland County, doing the hard work of being at people's deathbeds and watching them pass away and dealing with the family, the aftermath of all that. Kim is my mother, and I feel it is Women's Month that I give a shout out to the most special woman in my life. All of what I am able to do is made possible by her. You guys would not know who I am without Kim Robinson Arnett. Thank you, Kim, my mom, for supporting me throughout this journey of not just home buying, getting laid off a couple years back, trusting me that I was going to do my own thing and that it was going to work. It did. And the trust that you've had in me throughout my whole life, I've never said this out loud or even to you, but after this, I'll give you a call and tell you that I just said this on the podcast.
Well, make her listen.
Yeah, you can listen to it first. I really just appreciate you. You're not properly, I have not adequately done that. And I know that, I love you and you love me and everything, but I don't even have the words, right, to properly describe the admiration and respect that I have for you. I truly think that you are one of the best people that has ever lived, on earth. Oh. And I don't even say that in the bias of you're my mother. I say that in geez, lady, how do you do this? Driving around all day, one by one, seeing people die every day, and then just having a smile to come back and do it all again the next day.
And it's got to be guided by a worldview, philosophy that she brings with her into that space, because you don't just do that because it's a job, because you can get another job. So
yeah, she could have. She could have stayed with the assisted living facility with her CNAs that didn't want to get the COVID shot. It's the reason why she's not a director of nursing anymore. But
she transitioned into something. Well, she did like her son, right?
Yes.
And she said, "I'm going to create something all my own
for herself."
And so, she certainly gave you that. But I'm really interested in how she shaped your political philosophy, your thinking, because she was your first teacher, right?
She was, and she is a, ancestral Polish woman, white woman, lives in Midland, lived in Baltimore, Maryland for 20 years. And so, yeah, my mom's political, I don't share political perspective with my mom, but that is what has shaped it. You're correct in that.
Okay.
So, I mean, she is a Democratic voter. I'll leave it at that.
All right. I was just thinking that
I'm a journalist reporter.
You're
I
a
don't
journalist.
have
You can't have an sides, but you're thinking about justice. You're thinking about human values. That I wasn't really thinking about politics as much as you're thinking about life and values, because we get that from our parents. It's normal for the next generation to rebel against us and to tell us we don't know what we're doing. As a mother and a grandmother, I can certainly see that in my own life. But I certainly hope that I've implanted those values, those very essential things that say people matter. I got that from my mother, although we were politically different. And I certainly hope I pass that on to my children. Yeah. That's what I was really getting at. In light of the book, The Three Mothers, and in light of your shout out to your mom.
Yeah, so shout out to her. Tarsha and Kayana, I want to put you guys on the spot to shout out the incredible individuals or places or spaces in your life that you feel deserve some attention here on the show. They're looking at each other now. Who's going to go first?
Yeah. So I can't not speak on my mom and my grandmother. They have laid the foundation for me to be here, but also have a lens to life in ways that I am most appreciative of. And I say this to my mom whenever I get the opportunity to, but I am deeply in gratitude for being able to learn who she is as my mother. It's different than having like a mother, but knowing the mother, right? Knowing who she is and learning who she was before me. It's been an honor to do that. And, you know, she says I'm her hero, but ultimately she is mine because she is so vibrant and filled with life. And she has really set principles down in relationship to health and wellness that I value and will pass down to my family and the community in which I serve. And that goes to my grandmother as well. They're both scholars. They are both just women that inspire me and will inspire me for the rest of my days on this planet. So, Mom, I love you. Grandma, I love you as well. And I thank you for everything you implanted on me, my sister, and my entire family.
As I was thinking about it, I want to give a shout out to a friend who started off as a mentor. One of the individuals that saw something in me and gave me the courage to step into the leadership role that I was very hesitant to step into, which led down the path of me being where I am right now. Her name is Star Allen Petway. She is the CEO of Matrix Human Services. She was my former boss, mentor, and now really good friend. Really, really good friend. So I just want to lift her up as we celebrate Women's Month. And we think about Black women who support one another. She's just an amazing human being. So
Star and I had the opportunity to serve on a panel last year, and we were supposed to be talking about, I don't even know, we had such a spiritual connection to each other. I love her. Yeah. And I just felt like we could see the world through those eyes of really women supporting women and the community coming together to support itself. So I admire her so much, and I second your shout out.
Yeah, she's an amazing human.
Yes.
Beautiful. If you guys have topics that you want to see discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can visit our website, authentically-detroit.com. We want to thank you for joining us for another episode of Authentically Detroit. Please like, rate, and subscribe to our show on all platforms. Donna, thank you for the kind words to my mom today. She's going to really enjoy that, listening back to this. She enjoys listening to this program. And Tarsha and Kayana, thank you guys for telling us about the work that you guys do. It is Women's History Month, so we're going to keep with that theme this month. Keep it locked, guys. Thank you so much for listening to Authentically Detroit.